Our next session is led by Paula, a quick update on CBDC and the Center of Excellence. So we'll begin a little early, and I'll pass it over to Paula.
Great. Can you hear me, Simon? I just saw my
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Just saw my internet going a little wonky, so hopefully it will it'll sustain me through the next 13 slides. So anyway, thanks everyone for your attention. Happy to give you an update on what we're looking to do in the area of CBDC. This is a new project for the foundation, and so we're still in the formative stages, but we thought it would be timely to give you an update on where we stand with this project. And kind of why are we interested in CBDCs? I can't wait to see this slide updated. This is data from 2020 that shows all the different countries around the world that have proof of concepts and launching new initiatives around central bank digital currencies. And as you can see, it really does span the globe. I'm sure that if we were to take a snapshot from the end of last year, that we'd see even more. So looking forward to seeing new data on this. But if you look at even, I know the Central Bank of Nigeria in October launched a new CBDC initiative, and I'm sure there are other countries in Africa that will be as well. So clearly keen interest in this, and for a number of reasons. We'll talk about that in a moment. You know, really some of the reasons we're hearing that folks are interested in CBDCs is that it reduces the reliance on banks and other financial institutions and can be a medium for financial inclusion to underserved populace. Also can be universally accessible and widely used, particularly in areas such as aid payments and other government to individual payments. It does reduce the dependence on physical cash, making distribution of money more efficient, also more clean. And you know, in the COVID times, I know a lot of people have wanted to stay away from cash, so that has also created more interest in accelerating CBDC initiatives. And they may be cheaper to implement than other digital financial services. So just some of the points that we're hearing from the marketplace on why CBDC could be relevant for our mission of financial inclusion. You may recall that mid of last year, the Monetary Authority of Singapore joined the Mojaloop Foundation, and one of the things they encouraged us to look at was wholesale CBDC. And so what we're doing is creating a whole initiative around wholesale CBDC, which includes workshops, hackathons, pilots, and creating a toolkit. And so you'll see more of this coming online in the upcoming weeks and months. We also dipped our toe in the retail sector. While this is not a primary focus for us, the Monetary Authority did launch a CBDC challenge last June, looking for innovative retail solutions to enhance payment efficiencies and promote financial inclusion. We participated in that. There were over 300 submissions into that challenge, 15 finalists. And 3 of the finalists were actually leveraging Mojaloop as part of their submission. Now I know Lewis could probably speak more to this if you have more questions about what happened with this retail hackathon. Lewis was involved in creating an instant on Apex for Mojaloop and having a sandbox in place so that the finalists could tap into the Mojaloop sandbox and learn more about the Mojaloop connectivity for their solutions. But I don't want to dwell on retail because that's really not our focus. It was great to get the exposure with Mass and some of the players that are building out retail capabilities. But our focus in the upcoming months and years is really going to be on wholesale. So what are we going to do? First of all, we're going to form a center of excellence headquartered out of Singapore. We'll be a small team that physically work out of the Singapore region and work closely with the Monetary Authority of Singapore. They will basically launch an open source project. We'll be hiring several staff members, including a Center of Excellence director, an engineering director, a community manager, and a DevOps specialist. And that team will make an ongoing push for new Mojaloop Foundation members and funding sponsors of the project. So while Mass is going to be a major contributor to this project, we have other players interested as well. And so what the first step that we'll do once we have the team built out is we'll launch a CBDC working group. In the spirit of open source, it will be open to participation for anyone that wants to participate in the working group. Everything that we'll be doing will be transparent and available on GitHub. The governance of this working group will be overseen by the Mojaloop Foundation member companies and funding partners. And in fact, many of our member companies have been actively involved in scoping out this project. We scoped the project with the technical governing board. Greg, Miller, Warren are all very familiar with the scope of this project, and were involved in the discussions with the Monetary Authority of Singapore on that scoping document. What I can do now is take you through kind of some high-level points about the focus of this working group. But that said, we haven't launched the working group yet. We haven't fully staffed yet, so I won't be able to go deep on the scope, because that's really the responsibility of the working group, is to take these scoping themes and dig deeper and create a working plan that delivers on this scope. So some of the areas of focus for us will be on domestic clearing and settlement in CBDC. So testing the use of Mojaloop as a central clearing system with settlement via external CBDC. Work with technology partners to develop integrations between Mojaloop and other CBDC systems to facilitate efficient settlement. Evaluate settlement models that are best suited for this architecture and make recommendations on which models are recommended and how they should be employed. And evaluate how expanded direct access to the clearing system, facilitated by expanded access to wholesale CBDC for settlement, impacts the scheme rules and operations. So, some high-level areas that we need to explore, discuss, and decide what additional work needs to be done to address domestic clearing and settlement. Secondly, with regard to domestic issuing and clearance of CBDC, this project will evaluate the requirements from a central bank to issue CBDC to participants, and evaluate extending our capabilities within Mojaloop to be the system of record for account-based wholesale CBDC. And then, of course, implement the necessary changes to Mojaloop to accommodate these requirements and capabilities. So this is will be a really important component of the project work of the working group. And then finally, address cross-border payments. We need to test the use of wholesale CBDC in a pilot involving a pair of emerging economies, assuming the use of Mojaloop Core as part of the pilot. So Monetary Authority is not interested in addressing this for the sake of Singapore, the Singapore government. They really want to help lead the deployment of wholesale CBDC across many different countries and regions. So we will be looking at developing economies, emerging economies, really those that are in our target space to facilitate these pilots. We want to test easy and open access for participants on the network. We want to test the use of multiple currencies on domestic systems and disparate networks. And based on the pilot project's experience, the participating entities can expand the scope for future projects. So, a lot of the work in these areas that I've just outlined really has to start with discussions and requirements, then some testing and piloting work. So there's there's a lot to be done here, and that's why assembling this working group is so important. Some of the additional deliverables that we will be offering as part of the CBDC initiative is, first and foremost, financial inclusion workshops. So we want to focus on development strategies for payments market development and regulatory policy for payment services and CBDC, with an emphasis on such topics as development of national payment rails and cross-border payments connectivity, achieving interoperability across payment solutions, designing conducive regulation for e-payments. These financial inclusion workshops, go beyond obviously CBDC. They can be very helpful in advancing Mojaloop's mission for the core Mojaloop platform. They can be very helpful in creating more acceptance and awareness of Mojaloop as an offering in the marketplace. And so I really look forward to us launching those workshops sometime this year. We also want to conduct hackathons. So we want to invite participation worldwide to examine how universal access to digital currency could integrate the unbanked communities, enable them to participate in the digital economy. So using CBDC as a catalyst to bring some of the folks that are underserved today into the economy. Address problem statements associated with KYC, AML, CFT, and others. And also prototype and sample applications built by the hackathon participants. Of course, there's ample opportunity for the members of our current community to participate here, but we certainly will open this up globally to encourage other participants. As you see from the retail CBDC hackathons, Mass attracted 300 entrants. That was winnowed down to 15 finalists. So we think that there's a great opportunity for us to gain tremendous visibility and participation on the Mojaloop stack. And then finally, what we want to do is develop a set of resources that will serve as a starting point for launching CBDC initiatives. So again, we're very, very much focused on central banks, something that's a group of entities that are very important to us. And so showing them our leadership position with regard to CBDC will obviously create a halo effect for Mojaloop in and of itself. So beyond the code, obviously once we launch the working group, we'll be looking for folks to join and participate in the working group. As I've already mentioned, it's not just about coding. We're going to be ultimately looking for pilot projects to align with the focus. We'll be looking for folks to participate in the workshops and hackathons and collaborate on the development of the CBDC toolkit. So it's a very comprehensive project. There's going to be a lot of work to undertake, but if this is an area of interest for you, we would certainly encourage you to join in with the working group. We have created a Slack channel for wholesale CBDC, as you see on this slide. But as I've mentioned, we're in the early phases yet. We have not staffed this project yet. We haven't formally announced the working group, but we think that's imminent. And so we wanted to give you a heads up so that you could get a good sense of what our direction is and give some consideration as to whether or not you would like to participate in the work. So with that, I'll take a pause. I saw some chatter on the chat. Do we have questions? I see, yeah, Nigeria, I saw that a role model there. So certainly if folks have been involved with Nigeria, bringing some perspective into the working group about what Nigeria has done would be useful for sure.
I think the wider question, of course, is there CBDC pilots forming within the time frame of our COE setup here that would be appropriate targets for us to consider during this wholesale style system? Obviously, the ENIRA is more focused towards retail, but there's a
Yep.
potential still that with proper outreach and discussion with other governments, we may find that even if their focus is on the retail side, it may still be appropriate to utilize those in a pilot form for wholesale. There's a lot of people that use PayPal in that way. It's not intended for that wholesale settlement, but it can be used that way. And this is by extension. So that's the question I wonder is there a place where we can look at establishing within our sphere of influence and our sphere of focus if we can we identify some CBDC pilots that might be incorporated into our thinking?
Yeah, once we announce the COE director, that person's going to be keen to hear what opportunities there are for pilots. So we'll certainly make a call for input on that and hope that the market responds. In addition to our current member companies, we have a number of companies, particularly in Asia, that have been working on these projects, but we welcome input on the continent of Africa from companies that have been dipping their toe in CBDC to see if we can establish synergies and apply resources to those pilots.
Yeah, I'm seeing Philip in the chat here suggesting perhaps Gambia. I think they're located there and would be interested in that. Obviously, I don't think any of us know what the appetites are yet for national pilots in these countries, but that we have to start somewhere. And obviously having champions in the commercial space would be hugely interesting.
Yeah, so Philip, to your question, yes, we're interested. I need someone to catch it. So as soon as we announce the new CBDC director that will be working for me, I'll put that person in touch with you directly. But this is pre-launch of this project, so we're not ready to catch much, but yet, but imminent. Within the next month or so, we should be able to respond to some of your questions. So we wanted to make sure that the community was aware that this is coming soon. So certainly become involved. And actually, we have been talking to Ripple. Ripple is fully aware of our intentions here and where they can participate in the working group. I'm sure they'll be active as well. Any other questions?
How can the community get involved?
We will be encouraging them to get involved once we've launched the working group. So the first thing would be, once we launch the working group, join it and participate in the meetings and sessions. So it's just, as I said, we're a few weeks out from there being an active way that people can participate, but soon. But if you want to share thoughts on the Slack channel, we'll be monitoring it. And again, as we staff up, that team will respond directly and hopefully be able to loop you into the working group planning activities. So thanks for your input, and I look forward to your participation once we launch. Thanks all.